الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتاب الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yunus, and He illustrates a beautiful example, and He says, هُوَ الَّذِي يُسَيِّرُكُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ حَتَّى إِذَا كُنْتُمْ فِي الْفُلْكِ وَجَرَيْنَ بِهِمْ بِرِيحٍ طَيِّبَةٍ فَرِحُوا بِهَا جَاءَتْهَا رِيحٌ عَاصِفٌ وَجَاءَهُمُ الْمَوْجُ مِنْ كُلِّ مَكَانٍ وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ أحيط بهم دعوا الله مخلصين له الدين لئن أنجينا من هذه لنكونن من الشاكرين. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yunus, He is the one who enables you to travel over the sea or to travel over the water and the land. And when you get into the ship and you sail in it, or when they sail in it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends them a favorable wind that's good. It helps them get to where they need to go. And they rejoice and they're happy. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He sends after that a stormy wind. One that's not favorable anymore. One that gets everybody worrying until they think that they are surrounded, until they think that they are doomed. And that's when they call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, مخلصين له الدين. And they say, oh Allah, if you were to save us from this situation, if you were to save us from this situation, we would surely be from those who are grateful. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا أَنْجَاهُمْ إِذَا هُمْ يَبْغُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to save them from this situation where they were surrounded by the waves and where they thought it was over for them. And then they continued, they moved on and continued with their transgression against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they had no right to do that. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّمَا بَغْيُكُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Oh people, know that your transgression is not against Allah but only against yourself. For a short period of this life, it's an enjoyment of the life. مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا مَرْجِعُكُمْ فَنُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is only for a short while. And then you will come back to us and we will inform you of what you did. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala illustrates this example of the sea and the person who is in the ship and the person who is rejoicing, and then as soon as misfortune befalls him, he begins to call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. And it illustrates a larger example for us, in that there are so many situations where we as Muslims, where we as people, when things are going all right for us, we're happy, we're all good, we're cruising by, that's okay. But then as soon as things become difficult, that's when we start to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which isn't bad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us in order to bring us closer to Him. But the bad part comes after. And that is when, after we've been relieved of our difficulty, after we have been saved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we return as if we had never called upon Him the first time. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says at the beginning of Surah Yunus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانَ الضُّرُّ دَعَانَا لِجَنْبِهِ أَوْ قَاعِدًا أَوْ قَائِمًا. He says that when a difficulty afflicts a person, he calls upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether he's on his side, or whether he's sitting, or whether he's standing. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieves that difficulty from him. And as soon as that difficulty is relieved from that person, they continue. They move on as if they had never even called upon Allah the first time. And so what Allah is teaching us is a lesson about being grateful, about having shukr, about acknowledging the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through difficulty and through ease. And we'll go back to our first ayah about the sea, and we'll break it down inshaAllah to see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us to be grateful to Him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts, هُوَ الَّذِي يُسَيِّرُكُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. He is the one who enables you to travel over the sea and through the land. And Ibn Kathir comments and he says that this means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us and He's preserving us as we travel. And so Allah starts by telling us about who He is. Who is the one who gives us these blessings? Allah speaks about the giver of the gift before He speaks about the gift itself. And that's the first kind of shukr that we need to have. That is the first branch of shukr, as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah refers to it. That we know the giver of the gift. That we build a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because imagine one day someone comes to your door. Someone comes to your door, they give you a nice gift. They give you the keys to a Ferrari, they give you something nice. And imagine falling in love with that gift more than the giver of the gift. To the point where you love that Ferrari, or you love that car, you love whatever that gift is, more than the one who gave you that gift. And this is the situation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins to illustrate for us. That the first part of being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowing the giver, knowing the one who is giving us His blessings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and He talks about the winds. Right? As they go on the ship, the winds control the ship. There can be good wind, there can be bad wind. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He first gives the blessing of favorable winds. And so He goes from talking about the giver of the gift, now talking to what exactly is it that is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that's the second part of us being grateful. Acknowledging what are the gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. And in tafsir of Imam Qurtubi, he says that Dawood alayhi salam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, how can I be truly grateful to you if being grateful, gratitude itself is a blessing from you? How can I truly be grateful if even that gratitude, even that showing of gratitude is a blessing from you, Ya Allah? And so he acknowledged the gifts of Allah, the blessings of Allah that very few acknowledge. And so that is the second part of our shukr. The second part involves acknowledging what are the gifts and being grateful for them. Thanking Allah for them. Because like we saw in this ayah, right? They were blessed with good, fortunate winds, and they rejoiced, but they didn't thank Allah. And then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the hardship for them, that's when it became time for them to raise their hands and make dua. And it's interesting because we have to recognize that these blessings don't come from us. When they call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they call upon Allah alone, it means, Ibn Kathir says that this means they get rid of all their idols. They don't call on an idol anymore. They don't call on anything anymore because they know that the source of this savior will be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And similarly, when we are put in situations where we need a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's important for us to understand that it doesn't come from ourselves. These blessings don't come from ourselves, but they only come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the actions of the people and how those can be a demonstration of gratefulness. Because they promised Allah, if you were to save us from this ship, The waves are all around them. The waves are surrounding them in this ayah. And they say, if you were to save us from this, Ya Rabb, we would surely be of those who are grateful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't say that we saved them and they were ungrateful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we saved them and then they disobeyed Allah. Because disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in itself is a form of being ungrateful. How can a person use a blessing from Allah and claim to be grateful and then not use that blessing to please Allah, or use that blessing to do something that is not pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And so our gratefulness to Allah, our thankfulness, our acknowledgement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't only on our tongues, but rather it's on our actions and how we use our actions to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the tafsir of Al-Tabari, he says that, salah is a form of shukr. And siyam is a form of shukr. And any good deed that a person does is a form of shukr, is a form of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And why is that? Why are these deeds considered to be forms of gratitude? Because we are using that which Allah has given us, our health, our iman, our submission to Him. These are all blessings from Him, and we are using them in order to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, these are the three aspects that Ibn al-Qayyim says are from shukr, are from thankfulness to Allah. One, that a person knows who is giving the gifts and understands who is the one giving the blessings. And number two, that a person recognizes what are the blessings. What are the blessings that a person is receiving? What should I be thankful for? And number three, that a person uses what they are given in order to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so to give a little bit of an example, because we're talking about a bit of abstract kind of concepts, right? To give a little bit of an example, we look at the month that just passed us, Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the ayat of Ramadan, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He doesn't want hardship for you. He wants ease for you and not hardship. And so that you may complete the days and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He guided you to. And so that you may be grateful. And so a key part of Ramadan, a key part of the month that we just went through involves being grateful. And how many of us, we pray Taraweeh and we eat iftar with our families and we go to see the community and we're so grateful for this blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided us with. This blessing of Ramadan, where we have this community, where we have this spike in our iman. And so the lesson we take from this ayah that we spoke about regarding those who thank Allah or who claim to thank Allah and then don't. The lesson that we take is that just because Ramadan is over, it doesn't mean we should stop being grateful to Allah. Allah put us in a situation, just like those people on the boat were in a situation where they needed to call to Allah. Allah put us in a situation where we needed to call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Ramadan. Where we were making dua, where we were asking Allah. And Allah gave us the blessings. The blessing of reaching Ramadan in itself. And so now it's our turn to do our part in thanking Allah. By acknowledging that He was the one who gave us this gift of Ramadan. It's easy for us to say, I prayed 20 rak'ahs of Taraweeh. I'm great. Or I was able to fast all of Ramadan. Good job me. But it takes an additional step of humility in order to acknowledge that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and this is a blessing from Him. Number two, to recognize what are the gifts. Recognize what are the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. That we were even able to reach another Ramadan. That we were able to fast. That we were able to have our health. That we were able to spend time with our communities praying and fasting and breaking our fast. These are all blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm sure we can all think of so many blessings. And Allah even says, if you were to count all the blessings He gave you, you wouldn't be able to put a number to them. And we have to use this blessing that Allah gave us in order to do good. Use this increase in iman. Use this increase that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us during Ramadan to continue to do good. And don't fall back into what we used to fall into before Ramadan. Let Ramadan be a starting point for us to develop good habits so that we reach next Ramadan in a better state. And know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. Very few of my servants are grateful. Very few of my servants are grateful. And so our goal should be to be amongst those few servants. Imagine being amongst those few servants on the Day of Judgment. And that's what we'll talk about in the second part of the khutbah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Before we move on to talking about, why should we be grateful and what kind of benefits will we get from it, it's important to acknowledge one thing that we all need to be grateful for. And as we're all aware, tomorrow, Canada Day, 150, all that's going down, inshallah. But what we have to just take a minute and reflect on is the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us in being here. And sure, it's always important to acknowledge that there's room for improvement, and there are things that aren't the best, and there's things that we continue to struggle to improve, but there's no denying that this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we're able to live in a place where we're free to practice our deen, where we're free to give da'wah, to express our faith, to be safe. And so while some people may celebrate Canada Day or the 150th anniversary in ways that we might not celebrate, try and take a moment to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing that is this country and for the blessing that we have being here. And so let that be our celebration, inshallah. And so it's important, now that we've talked about how we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do we show our gratitude? How do we express our thanks to Allah? Now, we have to ask ourselves why. Why do we do that? We can always thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He's given us so much, but it's always important to understand why we're doing things. Because we might be thanking Allah, we might be so grateful tomorrow, but a few months down the road, if we don't know why we're doing it, it won't continue. And so we look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. First and foremost, and this is the obvious one, it's because we owe it to Allah. We owe it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine a person who would give so many gifts. Imagine you gave so many gifts to a person. Gift after gift after gift. You kept giving and giving and giving and giving, and they didn't say thanks. Or maybe they said thanks and then they went about their life. Or maybe they didn't even believe that you were the one who gave them the gift. SubhanAllah. And to Allah is the highest example. And so we owe it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us everything that He has given us. We owe it to Him to thank Him and to continually have the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our tongues. But beyond that, what are the benefits that we get? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us, number one. And you think it's given that Allah will reward us. But think about that a person, whenever they do what they're expected to do, whenever a person does what is their job, usually khalas, that's their job, they're not rewarded for it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, even though we don't even benefit Allah with our thanks, He will reward us for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَسَيَجِزِ اللَّهُ الشَّاكِرِينَ, and He will give reward to those who are grateful. Allah also says in Surah Al-Zumar that if you are grateful to Allah, He will be pleased with you. And think about that for a second. What is it that we want? What is it that we can ask for more than Allah, more than for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with us? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he visited the city of Ta'if, when he was expelled, when people were throwing rocks at him, throwing stones at him, when he was bleeding, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, he asked Allah, he said, as long as you are pleased with me, I don't mind. As long as you are pleased with me, I don't mind. And so how can we get that pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He tells us, if you are grateful to me. And so that's why. Because we want and we ask for and we beg for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the scholars say, or the scholars said that, who is the one that every single Muslim makes dua for him? Every single Muslim makes dua for him. Who is that person? And they would say that this is the one who praises Allah. Because every time we pray, we ask Allah, Sami Allahu liman hamida. We ask Allah to hear the one who praises you. And so if we become amongst those who praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have people asking Allah to accept our dua, to hear us. And so by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're guaranteeing that our dua will be accepted. And that's why it's from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, always to begin our dua by praising Allah. Always to begin our dua by thanking Allah and glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because this is a means of acceptance for our dua. And so, in quick summary, we said that we thank Allah because He deserves it. And we thank Allah because we will be rewarded for it. And we thank Allah because He will be pleased with us. And we thank Allah because this is a means of getting our dua accepted. And to close, inshallah, we take some action points or some things that we can actually take. Because it's nice to talk about the different types of shukr and the different benefits and all that kind of stuff. But what is it if we don't take it and do something with it? And so the first thing we should do is get to know Allah. Get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone were to provide for you and to give you again and again, you would develop a relationship with them. And so develop that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what better way is there to develop that relationship than through the Quran? Through the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What better way is there to get to know someone or to get to know Allah than to listen to His words and to recite His Quran? Number 2, reflect. Take a moment. Now, later, consistently, on a consistent basis, to reflect on the blessings of Allah. And be creative. Be creative in what you're asking, what you're thanking Allah for. It doesn't always have to be the same things. Health, car, how, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the things that you don't even think about. And always take time to reflect. Take time to reflect on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And third, thank Allah through our actions. Use our actions to do good in order to thank Allah. And finally, as we mentioned, don't forget to thank Allah through these 3 means. For the place that we're living in, for the safety that we have, for everything that we can appreciate about this country. And so we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us amongst those who are grateful. Ameen. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prevents us from being of those who are ungrateful to Him. Ameen. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who receive His pleasure. Ameen. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those whose dua is accepted. Ameen. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show His mercy to us and give us even though we can give Him so little. Ameen. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما وأقيموا الصلاة